The brand Lucy Yak have had me in a chokehold since they opened about 7 years ago. And if you clicked on this video, I reckon they probably at some point have had you in a chokehold as well. If you haven't heard of them before, they are a UK-based independent brand with a focus on improving things from an ethical and sustainable perspective from the very low bar the rest of the fast fashion industry has set. Are they perfect? No, but they were definitely going in the right direction for me, and as a customer for years, and then for about 1.5 years, I was a Lucy Yak partner, which meant that I did regular agreed sponsored posts with them, and in exchange they let me have some of their clothes for free. Very, very nice. I can say that I have spent a large majority of the past 7 years living in Lucy Yak clothes. Now, I gave up that partnership this year, and I'll tell you why, because I thought it would be a little bit ironic to encourage you to buy new clothes while I am explicitly not buying any for the whole of 2024. I am doing a challenge that I have made up called My Year of Make Do that you're very welcome to join in on. You can find out more about that challenge here, but essentially, we're not buying any new clothes. If we want new clothes, we have to make them ourselves. Yeah, we can't even thrift them. I'm being strict. I've been documenting my sewing journey on this channel for a while, and it's been a raucous good time. And I recently saw a video by the Fold Line, who are a pattern channel, who did this breakdown of toast clothes and how they would make them themselves based on the patterns they could find on the internet. And I, of course, was like, oh my God, I could totally do that for Lucy Yak. I already know which patterns I'd use. When we're deciding whether we should buy something new or not, I think it's really important to try and analyze the aspects of that piece of clothing and why we like it, and whether we might be able to replicate that with our own sewing or knitting skills, or just find very close equivalents on secondhand platforms. Like, they don't always have to be a perfect match to the thing that we want to buy new. So what I'm gonna do in this video is gonna break down some of Lucy Yak's best-selling items, the key elements that I think make them special and interesting, so that we can look for those when we're looking for other patterns, or you can use your secondhand apps to try and find those elements in other clothes. And then I'm gonna give you some ideas of patterns that I would use were I to try and replicate these Lucy Yak items in the year of making do. With me so far? Well, that makes one of us, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's begin. And if we're going to obey the laws of Julie Andrews, we must start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And the first item that Lucy Yak ever released, their iconic pattern that they're known for, is this pair of original tapered dungarees. And to me, when I break down why these are different from other kinds of dungarees on the market, I'm seeing 4 things. I'm seeing that there is no gathered waist at all. It's quite straight down. If you break it down a little bit, because I have deconstructed a pair of mine before, there is a slight shaping around the hips, but there isn't the kind of waistband or gathering that you might find in a traditional pair of dungarees. They have 3 square or slightly rectangular patch pockets on the front. That's what those are called. Now I've found out they're called patch pockets, which are, by the way, because I've made a pair of dungarees with 24 of them on, really easy to make. Good news. They have this tapered leg at the bottom, which is again what I think makes them different from their other styles of dungarees and other styles of dungarees I've seen on the market. That kind of tapering down is really interesting. And also the tie straps. Of course, there's a cult following around how people tie their tie straps on Lucy Yak dungarees, but I do think that hardware is something that can break really easily on dungarees and makes them a little bit less sustainable. That's my opinion. And they're also just a lot heavier to make. They feel like it's just an extra thing. So having that tie, I think, is really genius, and why people really like them, because it is a really distinct look, but it does make them more adjustable inherently and less fiddly to deal with. Now, when I was looking for how I'd make these dungarees, if I wanted to make them from scratch, I first thought I'd found the perfect pattern, but on closer inspection, maybe not. This is the Tilly and the Buttons Erin dungarees, or overalls. It comes in 3 choices of leg length, but it does have a different kind of tie. You can put the ties where they tie up here or they tie down here, but there's no loop tie on them. And it also has princess seams on it, which again would kind of create some kind of waist, which is not what we love about the originals. And even though it'd be really, really easy to add, they don't have patch pockets. So I kept hunting, and I hunted throughout the internet. I think I might have seen every dungarees pattern on the internet in existence. It's a bold claim, but I'm willing to stand by it. I finally found something that I think is a perfect dupe for this pattern. This is what you're looking at. It is the Heyday Dungarees pattern from Waves and Wild, and it has, I think, I'm willing to say, almost everything. It has the loop ties at the top, it has the patch pockets. It also has 2 additional back pockets, which the originals don't have, but I sorely miss in them. The only difference that I'm seeing, because it does also have the tapered leg, is that it does have a seam down the middle of your tummy. So what's cool about the original Lucy Yak dungarees is that it's all cut from one bit of fabric on the front. I think it gives a really clean, all-in-one, don't care, kind of throw it on look to the front of the dungarees, and this has a seam down the middle, so that might bother you. But apart from that, I think it's almost spot on, and I'm quite smug with my first dupe find. And I also think, I'm not an experienced sewist, but I think if you just had a really big bit of fabric, you wouldn't have to create that seam down the front. I'm sure the seam is just there because it would probably be a little bit more wasteful to have to cut out this whole massive shape out of a piece of fabric. So I imagine it's a logistics problem, and you could probably solve that if you were really against having the seam down the middle of your dungarees. The second most famous pair of dungarees that Lucy Yak owns, and I love this cut, it's a very traditional baggy retro 90s cut, is the Easton Dungarees. I'd say the key elements of these dungarees are the 3 buttons down the sides on the hips to take them off. They're a lot more high rise. They have absolutely huge pockets. The side pockets on the thighs are absolutely massive, and they have a really wide leg and a really wide tie strap crisscross on the back. They're just very sturdy, big ones. And they're also made out of quite a more hefty fabric than the originals. They're definitely like really thick vintage style denim. The closest dupe I could find with the matching buttons and pockets and most other key elements is the constant overalls from Fibre Mood. And I included these because I think the things that are different about this pattern could be altered. From my site, it looks to me like they're not quite as high-waisted as the Eastons, but I'm pretty sure that is something you can alter, and you can also alter how wide the legs are. It does have hardware, like that traditional dungaree hardware that I'm not a massive fan of, but I'm sure you could just switch that out and make a loop. That would be simple. And if I was to make this, I would make damn sure that those pockets are as massive as the original Eastons because it's so good. If you can find a closer dupe pattern for the Easton Dungarees on the internet, I will willingly eat my hat, but that is as good as I think it's going to get. The next is the Olly Jacket. This is their loose fit shacket that comes in various different kinds of materials. I've got 2 in cord and 1 in this twill, thick denim-like fabric. They're a really brilliant, versatile piece to style, and I find that I can wear them in winter and summer with just a lot of layering. And I would love to have the ability to make more of them myself in different styles and patterns, so I wasn't just beholden to the drops that they have and like trying to work out whether I love a fabric or not. I really love to be able to make my own. And I think the way that I would achieve that, and I think this is one that I'd really like to attempt, is the Ilford jacket from the Friday Pattern Company. Now, in the drawing, it doesn't initially look like that's definitely like a Lucy Yak Olly jacket. But in some of the pictures and the way that it's sewn, I can really see the vision here. It does look very close. The key elements of this jacket for me are the dropped shoulders, the seam for the shoulders, whatever, I've got a few different sizes, and whatever size they are, the shoulder always starts down here, which I think looks really, really nice and makes it much more comfy. It is a kind of boxy fit, but with a very classic collar like this that you can do up or you can have out. And it's got the patch pockets on the front, which I think are a really, really nice touch. And personally, if I was to make it, I'd love to color block them. So the patch pockets were a different colour. It's got the traditional collar. It doesn't look to me like it has the drop sleeves, but I know that it's oversized, so I wonder if I made it, it would actually end up having dropped sleeves, or I could probably just manipulate it to have the drop sleeve. It has those patch pockets that are adorable, and also some more options to add more pockets, which I am always in favour of. And I think if it's done in this thick, really sturdy fabric, like in these pictures, I think it does look really, really similar and possibly a lot more customizable, because you can also, if you were thinking, oh, I love that Olly jacket, but I wish it was longer, it can be longer. Look at these. You could even make it in a summer one as well. Maybe I'll make it in a linen or something. There's something about the mixture of a jacket and a shirt that really, really appeals to me, and this is one that I'd really, really like to make. The next is the Blake fleece. I know there's a lot of fleeces on the internet, and they actually do have a few other patterns of fleece, but I pulled out this one because I think this is the only fleece that they do that I can hand on my heart say is a little bit different from the other stuff on the market, and why it's something I've chosen to get in the past, because actually this kind of specific fleece is a little bit harder to find secondhand, and I think that it has some really interesting elements. So first, drawstring at the bottom of the fleece. Love that for the drafty element, because you know when you're wearing a fleece, you're usually doing it because you're going on a big long walk, and the last thing you want is a draft or things flopping about. I like that it's cropped. I am personally a cropped girly. All of my jeans, all of my skirts are all high-waisted, so having a full-length normal fleece really pisses me off. These are the only fleeces that I actually own and like wearing, because normal fleeces I just think are a bit rank. I just don't like having all that extra fabric down there in a fleece material. I don't know why. I don't like it, so I like that it's cropped. A few of the most famous designs have a color block option, which I think is really, really cool. So finding a pattern that you could also color block is important, I think, if we're going to have a proper dupe. And then also the kind of quarter zip down. You can't have a whole zip down the whole way. The whole point is it's a quarter zip. So I have found a few different options for this one actually, but the closest I found was actually a no pattern tutorial on YouTube. I will link that below if you fancy trying not having a pattern at all. And it is quite a boxy shape, so I think it would be okay. I started sewing without patterns. I sewed all my first garments in squares with the help of DIY Daisy, so I definitely think that is a good friendly beginner option. But if you don't fancy that, my three other options with drawbacks are as follows. There's Zia sweater pattern from Dressmaking Galore. Looks pretty darn similar. The only difference is there's elastic at the bottom instead of a drawstring, and it looks to me like there's a little bit of a bell sleeve, like it looks like some extra fabric around the wrist, which I wouldn't be against. I think that looks amazing. Then there's the Poganip pullover, what a name, from Friday Patterns. This looks almost the same, but again, it's got elastic at the bottom, not the drawstring, and it does have poppers instead of a zip, which now I'm thinking about it, I might prefer, and it's also much easier to fix. Like if you break a zip, it's really annoying to replace it. But if you break one popper, you can just, like with your hands, just replace the popper in like 2 minutes. So I'm kind of thinking maybe this is a more sustainable option than the zipper. So just so you know, that option is out there. And then finally, even though this doesn't fit all the criteria, I think this is the one that I would make, is the Fuguere sweater from Lizzie Mack. This is a sweater jacket pattern, which all of the models seem to be wearing stuff that's made in sweatshirting fabric, but you can, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to make it in fleece. It's also suitable for jersey, knit, or French terry. But I saw Steph Time make this on her channel, and the way she used color blocking and the way some of the models have color blocking options that they're modeling, I'm just thinking, this feels like in spirit the closest to the Blake fleece. Even though it's not even a fleece, I feel like spiritually this is very much aligned with the Lucy Yak core, so I had to include it. Next is the mini Pini. I don't like this piece of clothing. I've tried it before and I sent it back. Controversial opinion, but I don't really like the mini Pinis from Lucy Yak. I don't think they're graded very well for bigger bodies, and they just it's such a simple pattern, and I've tried it on in loads of other iterations from other brands over the years, and I just feel like the fit is not there for the mini Pini. When I have tried them on, I've never felt very comfortable in them. So there's easily room for improvement if you are going to go and look for your own secondhand or make your own. Of course, what makes them unique is that strap on the top that the originals have as well. It's got a nice big front pocket, and it is a very, very simple shape. So very easy to replicate. I wouldn't say there's a lot of kind of key factors here. One that I found is this Bobbin and Buttons Emily Dungaree dress, which has slightly different pockets, but I'd be willing to try those, and popper or hook hardware options for the top that could easily be converted into the ties if that's what you want. I like that this one also comes with an option for a longer skirt as well, which is something that Lucy and Yak have done. So if you're jealous of the longer version, that's there. And the one that I would personally make is the Tilly and the Buttons Clio Pinafore, which looks like it fits lots of different body shapes a lot better. Comes in a longer design as well, and those options to add patch pockets in different various places, and a little slit at the front if you want to make it knee length. Very, very nice. If you wanted to make the Alfie shirt, I just wanted to put this in there because this one is pretty popular, I think, but it is also a very, very simple slouchy pattern. What's unique about this one is it has a bit of a boxy fit, it has a really large lapel collar, and it has patch pockets, which looks pretty darn similar to me to the Gilbert top from Helen Closet patterns. You can make the bottom of this shirt straight like it is on the Lucy Yak one, or you can make it with a tie option, which is 100% what I would do. And it also comes with an option to have long bell sleeves, which is giving a really cool 70s vibe, which I think goes with a lot of the other kind of 70s Lucy Yak aesthetics that they've been posting last year. So I just wanted to include this pattern because I feel like if you're a Lucy Yak girly, then that pattern will probably call to you. Now we arrive at the holy grail moment, my favorite cut of jeans ever. And I'm not allowed to buy any more. This is the Addison Jeans from Lucy Yak, and I like these because they are based on an original vintage pattern, and they do feel like they're harder to find. Like, this style of jeans feels really hard to find in actual vintage shops or secondhand anywhere. I don't know why. Maybe everybody who bought them the first time round is just keeping them because they're amazing, or they've worn them into the ground. But what I really like about this style of jeans is the very, very wide waistband that really holds you. In their later patterns, they have a little tab of elastic as well that I really like, but I own some without the tab and they're still really comfortable. It has a very tapered leg and very heavy pleats at the front. So if you're somebody who has a adorable pouch at the front of their body, I feel like these jeans really complement and celebrate that without making you feel really uncomfortable when you sit down or feeling like you're trying to wrestle the fabric around you, which is something that I've found with normal smaller pleated jeans or bubble jeans before. But can it be replicated? Can it be found in other ways? Can we suckle joy from a different teat? We're about to find out. The only options I could find for this were all on Etsy. So they're from very small sellers that don't have very many reviews on a lot of them, and they're not as trusted to me as, say, Helen Closet Patterns or Friday Pattern Company. But I do feel optimistic about the ones that I found, and I'll talk you through the pluses and minuses. So first, we've got these tapered wide leg pants from This Is Khaki. These are definitely, I think, made to be trousers rather than jeans, although I'm sure if you used like a light jeans weight fabric it would work. She says as somebody who's never attempted to sew with denim and has no idea how to make jeans, but to me it would make sense. These look really cool and they're giving me 80s detective at the same time. I really love the way the pleats are done on this, and while it's not exactly right, I feel like what I like about the Addisons, I would also like about these trousers. Then I found these Adrian slouchy trousers that have been made in a jeans fabric on the model, and I can see the tapered leg is there. The waistband looks like a normal waistband size, but again, maybe we could change her. Maybe. Marry the man today, change his ways tomorrow, as Guys and Dolls has always taught me. It has a much more of a traditional bottom section. On the Addison ones there isn't any patch pockets and it's just like one little dart at the back and that's it, which I quite like, but I'm sure that I could just take that off the back of these jeans. We're getting closer, and then the closest I think I could get was these classic peg leg pants from MC2 Patterns, really coining the memorable names here on Etsy. And while I couldn't find any customer pictures of people having made this, and not any model pictures either, there were some good reviews. So this, in theory, with all of the formal elements, does add up to almost being a dupe for the Addison tapered jeans, but because of the lack of reviews, I'm unconvinced. Now, this is a genuine challenge. If somebody can find a better pattern, please let me know, because this is actually important to my well-being. Please. My second favourite style of Lucy Yak jeans was a little bit easier to try and replicate because it's a bit more of a common kind of cut. It's the Cole jeans. What I love about this is how wide leg they are, and all of the wideness of the bottom of the leg is created by pleats, which has the same kind of effect as the Addisons around your tummy, which I really like, but it gives a kind of bigger, bolder statement, and I think it's really, really comfortable. I'm wearing them right now and I have never been comfier. This has a normal size waistband as well, which is why it was a little bit easier to replicate, and one of its charms is that it is in a denim fabric, so this was hard to find in a formal jeans pattern, but I feel optimistic that any of these patterns would work with a light jeans fabric, and these Cole jeans are in a slightly lighter denim than the Addisons, so I think it's even more probable that they'd work, right? Anyway, the first ones are these patina pants from Paradise PDF Patterns on Etsy. They look pretty darn close to me. How many pleats do I have? I've only got one pleat. Yeah, these only have one pleat. These only have one pleat on either leg, and then a dart at the back. Yes, it's missing the back patch pockets, but that is easily addable, and I really, really like the look of these. The next ones have a bit more of a slouchy fit, and they do look like they would hang more like the Cole ones. These are the Magnolia Pant from Chickafrick Patterns. I feel very optimistic about these, and I also think that maybe if you tapered them, they could be the Addisons we're looking for. No? Maybe? Anyway, they look really, really funky in the line drawings, and it actually has 2 pleats on either side of the leg, which in theory could make them even more wide leg if we wanted them to. So that's an interesting one. And then finally, the ones that I can see the most examples of real people actually making them on the internet, which is why they win for me, is these Tapacoa trousers from Jessalicious Patterns. There's even somebody in the model pictures that has made them in a denim, and they look sick. They look super high-waisted. Oh, they look really versatile. I want to make them now. Please let me make them now. And then finally, the pattern that I know a lot of you might want to replicate, and I really love, is the Ragan Jumpsuit. I have this in 2 different fabrics, one in a cotton and one in a denim, and I wear them all the time, especially the denim ones. I'm really genuinely a little bit addicted to them. Probably one of my top 5 items in my whole wardrobe since I got them. What's special about these is they only have a gather at the back. So I really like the kind of cleaner look at the waist at the front of a jumpsuit, I've realised. I think that a lot of the patterns online have all got elastic the whole way around your waist, which I find really annoying when I'm wearing it. And also it's very hard, I think, to make it hang very nicely if you're a beginner sewist. Like, I'm not having a good time with elastic waists. I don't think they look very good when I make them. So that's something that'd be really important for me to keep when finding a duplicate pattern. It has a zip front, which is really cool and gives it a very 70s vibe. A very wide leg, but not too long. It's a bit of a cropped wide leg, which is really unusual. And then a collar that can close the whole way up to the neck, because a lot of the jumpsuit patterns I found online have a wider lapel neck or something else that isn't that, and I really like that you can zip it the whole way up and it kind of looks kind of a little bit smart when you do it like that, and you've also got the option to leave it open. I went through a lot. I don't even want to tell you how many jumpsuit patterns I went through, and the closest I can find is the Closet Core Patterns Blanca Flight Suit pattern. It ticks all the aforementioned boxes, I do believe, and it has these added belt loops with a little belt tie that you can make with it, but I think that you could probably take those off if you weren't a fan. They look like they fit really nicely the whole way around, like the 3D shots just make them look like they fit really, really well. And you can, like, there's photographic evidence here that you can make it in denim as well. The only thing it's missing is that elasticated waistband at the back. Devastating, I know, but I hope to one day be an experienced enough sewist that I'd be able to do the calculation and alter the pattern so I'd be able to add the elastic at the back. Well, that was a terribly long list, but as a reward for getting to the end of the video, I am going to give you the opportunity to manipulate me. I've just listed all the patterns that I might make should I want to make a Lucy and Yak dupe, but I haven't made any of these yet. You get to decide which one I make. I'd like to make one of these this year, and I'd like to put the power in your hand. I'm gonna simp for you this once. So please comment below telling me which pattern you would like me to replicate, and any ideas of how I might make it better, or what fabric or what color I might make it in. I'd love to hear from you, and the winners win. I like democracy. I'm still believe that it might work in this world, and I'm literally just going to count how many people say which items, and the most amount of votes wins. So if you are a Lucy and Yak fan, but you fantasize about being able to make it in a little bit more of a slow fashion or recycled fabric kind of way, or maybe just customize it a little bit more, really pick the colors and the cuts and the intricate details that you prefer, then I'm willing to use my time to test that, to see if that's possible, to see if that is a future we can look towards. And a personal dream of mine is to one day persuade Lucy and Yak to release their patterns for the sewists among us. I think I'd happily pay for these Lucy and Yak patterns if they were available, especially if they were in PDF, so there was less transport and postage and paper waste. But I hope that whether you're searching for dupes of these items online secondhand, or you're thinking about joining us in the year of Make Do, this video was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. Silly videos like this are made possible by the Gumption Club, who tip me per video to make sure these videos keep happening, and it means that I can be genuinely authentic about the people that I am sponsored by, especially in years where I have myself have pledged not to buy any new clothes. I've just been able to say no to partnerships and sponsorships of people making new clothes this year because it's not a thing that I'm doing. So the biggest thank you goes to them, and get voting in the comments below. I want to hear what you think I should make. Come on, my time is yours. Do your worst. Frog Snog out.